All right. Hello, everybody. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, or good night. I don't know what time you're going to be watching this. I'm not going to have my camera on today. My hair is a disaster. I finally had a little energy and trimmed my undercut, and I did it a little too much, and so now I look like I could be an extra in American History X. So, until I have the energy to actually do my hair and have it down, camera might be off. So that's that. Also, I'm gonna maybe for the next couple of lectures, I don't know, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a work of art, and then I'm gonna pause the recording and take a little break, and then do the next piece, pause, take a little break. It won't be any different for you. It'll be one, continuous lecture, but just so you know, I'm gonna be doing that. And so let's get started. Yeah, Venus of Urbino. So, fix that. There we go. We're in Italy. We're over in Venice. That's where Venice is. And here we go. So, this is by a very famous artist, Titian. This is definitely his most famous piece. I'll show you a couple others. There's one other pretty famous one, but I would be surprised if you'd seen it. And so, yeah, let's see. Titian made this for the, oh, what's that guy's title? Maybe I have it on the next slide. I even didn't put him as the patron. Okay, well, there is a patron. I'll fix that. Oh, I already posted this lecture. Well, whatever. I also don't remember the guy's name because it's like Italian and complicated and it starts with a G. But anyway, he was like the governor of Urbino, which is this area at the time that included Venice. Okay, and so this governor has it painted, Titian paints it for him. So it's a private painting. And that's actually kind of important for this piece because it is a female nude. And so nude artwork of women, which is what the majority of nude artwork ends up being, for quite a while, tends to be private art, because it's like it would be kind of scandalous to, sort of be known to own nude art of women, because we're not supposed to think about women in this manner of nudity. So he has this made. It's possible he even had it made as a wedding gift. They're not, like, art historians aren't 100% sure. There's not a lot known about this painting from the time. Most of what's written about it is written by a biographer, Vasari, and he writes later. And so it's like hard to know what he's sort of making up and what he knows for sure. And the reason, I bet some of you could guess that some people think that this might have been like a wedding gift, is the little dog that's sleeping here, right? Because remember from my brain has gone blank, from our Van Eyck, our Jan van Eyck. Oh my God. Anyway, my brain doesn't work so well these days. The Arnolfini portrait, there it is. It finally surfaced. Remember there's a little dog and we talked about how a dog is symbolic of fidelity. So having this little dog sleeping there could be a reference to fidelity, and so maybe this is a wedding gift. Creepily enough, we know that this governor guy got married to a girl when she was 10 years old. So yikes. Anyway, let's see here. Oh, let's look at some other Titian paintings. This one's very famous. If you watch Fleabag, if you watch that show in the second season, this is the painting. I think this is even the one that falls when Fleabag is with the priest, like one of the first times in his office. But anyway, this is a very famous Noli me tangere, that's it's Latin and it means don't touch me, which I think is so funny. But it's something about like, I don't know, when Christ resurrects or something, he remember like one version of the story is he's like a phantasm, and so like he doesn't want people to touch him and stuff. So that's why he's like, don't touch me. Sometimes you'll even see that on the walls at museums when they're like, don't touch the art, they'll put it in Latin. I think that's pretty cute because apparently they think that people know Latin. People who would touch art might know Latin. I don't think that's, yeah, anyway. This is his other very famous painting, and we'll actually come back and look at this later with in reference to another work of art, but this is the Pastoral Symphony. And the idea here is you have like these two men, one with, you know, that little like guitar thingy, and the other dude, but then you have these like two nude women, but they're probably like muses, right? It doesn't really make sense. Like, why you just got these naked ladies hanging around? So they seem sort of mythical. And then here's another Titian. That's nice. Here's another one. Here's another one. Okay, great. Let's move on to our piece. So here she is, the Venus of Urbino. And we can see we have this nude figure in the foreground. We call this pose a reclining nude because she is reclining and she is nude. And she's on a bed with her little dog and she's holding some flowers. And isn't that nice? And then over here in the background, I don't know when I have the close-up of this. Is it next? Oh, look at that. In the background, we have what looks like two potentially like maid servants, ladies, maids, I don't know what you call them. One here is like digging through a chest, right? And the other one you can see she has a fancy dress over her shoulder, right? Here's like the poofy arm sleeves. This is like the neckline part of it. And so it looks like maybe they're getting ready to help her get dressed, right? Like maybe there's sort of a reason for her nudity in that it won't last forever. But they're back here. Got this nice little window over here. See what my other next close-ups are. Okay, just her. Let's look at her for a minute. I want you to take a minute, a couple seconds, and just look at her. And maybe specifically kind of try to notice her proportions. Her proportions maybe should seem a little off to you. Now, and specifically what people notice is like the length of her legs compared to the length of her torso, and that her legs seem a little bit short. Now, to be clear, this is not like a freak of nature type situation. Like, as someone who also has short legs, you know, it like she could be a human and it would be fine. But if we're thinking about, you know, sort of trying to like still in the Renaissance be, oh shoot, that's what we got to talk about, sort of be depicting art in the classical form, we typically then, you know, think of perfect proportions, right? And that doesn't seem to be what we're getting here. And in fact, this piece is actually kind of hard to classify in a sense of, is this truly Renaissance, high Renaissance, late Renaissance? It's definitely late Renaissance if it's going to be Renaissance. Or is it moving towards our next era of art, which is called mannerism? And I'll tell you that one of the hallmarks of mannerism is like overly elongated human forms. So this piece, I think this is the first time we've had to talk about this. I'm going to be making up a term that we'll use again and again. All right, hang on one second, guys. I'm just going to pause the recording. All right, sorry about that, you guys. The gardeners for my apartment building showed up and we had to close the door. So it was easier to just pause and do that. So anyway, what I was about to get at is that this piece actually lies somewhere in the middle, of late Renaissance and mannerism. Okay. A couple years ago in a seminar I took over the summer to like learn about teaching this class, a different teacher had this great term she used. We all really liked it. She calls these gateway pieces, like gateway drugs. So somewhat not appropriate, but who cares? Basically that like, this is like a gateway to mannerism, right? And College Board really likes putting these kinds of pieces in. It's very frustrating for us because ideally we would like to be able to, can you move the cable? We would like to be able to just like definitively categorize things. No, just the cable so she can be up there. Sorry guys. But that's not how things work. You know, I'll admit it's very frustrating for me teaching this class to not be able to be like, this is wholly late Renaissance or this is wholly mannerism. But if you think about it, like, that's not how the world is going to work. From one day to the other, artists aren't going to wake up and be like, you know what, I think now I'm going to paint in a new style and I'm going to call it mannerism. That just doesn't make sense. These things are going to happen slowly over time, you know, a course of years. And so we're going to see small, small changes and like little bits of characteristics of future and past art periods, you know, coming in. And so a slight disproportionateness does show up here in this piece. But again, this isn't like super ridiculous. Like we'll see some ridiculous stuff later. Like it's, you know, not that bad. Now we're going to kind of come back to this idea in a minute, but you know, we've talked a few times in this course about the idea of male gaze, right? Gaze, and how oftentimes you can kind of counteract the effects of the male gaze by having the subject look at the audience. And while this figure is doing that, it doesn't really counteract the male gaze because she's doing it in this very like demure, kind of shy way, like with her head tilted down. There's something still very like, it's like provocative, but provocative in a kind of, in a shy way, I guess, in a very innocent way, right? She isn't like staring you down and her expression gives you any idea of like, what are you looking at? It's like, oh my goodness, you've caught me here before my maids have brought over my clothing. Oh no, right? Um, so, and again, we're going to come back to that in a minute. And I have this great painting to show you that kind of exemplifies what's going on in this time period and what will continue to go on. And again, this also has to do with this idea that like this painting in particular, and many paintings like this, were made for private use. And here come the gardeners. Still so loud, even with all the doors and windows closed. Okay, I think I can power through this. Another thing to notice, which Titian is sort of said to be the master of, is his glazing. We talked about glazing a while ago. This is the term we use when we talk about the layering of oil paint, right? And how with tempera paint, you can't glaze. And so with oil paint, when you glaze, this allows you to get like this luminous quality of, especially like people, of their hair, of their, skin tone. Um, and we know that this painting had at least like somewhere probably between 15 and 20 glazes. And remember, you have to like wait for each one to dry. Super amazing. You can really see it in like the lighting of her face and also the lighting of her torso, specifically her breasts and her stomach, that like it's so nicely feathered. And we'll talk about, like maybe you remember from Miss Pollock's class, that there are terms for this sort of like gradation of shadow and light and dark. And we're going to get to that a little bit later. It sort of makes sense to learn about them all at once, in my opinion. So we're going to wait. But this is this very nice, maybe you remember sfumato. So you don't have to remember that right now. But yeah. Here are her legs. Oh, so, another thing along the idea of male gaze and the sort of like sexualization of this figure is the placement of her hands, right? That one, is near her groin, not symbolizing, signifying like, a sexualness, maybe even like ideas of masturbation. So again, male gaze going on. There's that little dog. He's pretty cute. Oops. Now, one thing we haven't talked about yet is, why do we call her Venus, right? Why is she the Venus of Urbino? Well, Titian did not name this piece Venus of Urbino. We don't know if he gave it a name. We do know from a letter he got from the patron, like after he had gotten it's basically like a thank you note, he just called her the nude woman. And so later in time, we know, at least by, I think when his biographer Vasari was writing, they then start to talk about her as Venus. Well, why are we doing that? Like, why? Like, because if you think about it, what in here actually makes you think that she's Venus? Answer: nothing. There's nothing in here. The best argument you could potentially make, and it's a terrible argument, is like, well, there's like a Roman column right here. No, because we can very clearly see, like with the tapestries and like this is a column like in a window. The Romans don't do that. This is not a Roman setting. This is definitely a Renaissance setting. And so the only thing that makes this Venus is her nudity. And by calling her Venus later in time, especially once this like is not going to be owned by the patron anymore, is maybe going to be displayed in museums, it makes it socially acceptable to see her. Remember, I hope I have mentioned at some point that in the ancient world, The only statue you could depict nude was Venus, right? Because she's the goddess of sex, right? She's not the goddess of love, she's the goddess of sex. And so she can be depicted nude. No other goddesses can. And so, and that idea kind of holds. And when we get to the Renaissance, we'll see a ton of nude figures labeled as Venus, not because they're Venus. I mean, sometimes they will be Venus, like okay, I don't know. But they'll be labeled as Venus simply because they're nude and because that gives people an excuse. They can be like, oh, well, it's okay to see her nude because it's Venus, but like this isn't Venus. So really it shouldn't be okay. I'm going to pause the lecture one more time. Sorry about all these pauses, but hang on. Okay, I'm back. I don't know what the last thing I said was. Anyway, oh, it's Venus. Or rather, it's not Venus. Okay, let's look at some artistic elements going on here. Okay, if we, and I know this doesn't look like the best image of it, but I actually really like this because you can kind of see the background here. It's actually like a wall and then a drapery, a curtain, kind of drapey. Okay, but it creates this like perfect separation down the middle of the canvas, right? And it's not, an accident that basically like we're highlighting then, right? We're putting a box around like the very sexual aspects of her form. What? I don't know. Her boobs and her genitals. Bada bing, bada boom, right? This is going to draw the viewer's attention in here. Okay. So not, I mean, actually pretty subtle, I guess. I don't know. It's like one of those subtle, but then when you see it, you're like not so subtle artistic things. Also, the bedding here being red, oftentimes is interpreted to be a symbol of like passion. So yeah. Okay, so that's the Venus of Urbino. I also want to show you, I think it's the next image. Yeah. So here's this painting some guy I've never heard of did. But it's an interesting piece to look at because, okay, here we go, the Venus of Urbino. And like we have some other things going on, like, okay, yeah, here's a Virgin Mary. Okay, yeah, here's, I don't know, some dudes, but like here's a Venus Pudica, right? I don't know what else we got here. Here's a nude. And we notice, oh my gosh, I just noticed here's this, that's weird. This is an Etruscan piece. It's a chimera. It's very famous. Gosh, now I want to like pick out all the, like these are all real works of art that this artist put in here. Interesting. Anyway, sorry, I'm getting distracted. Oh, like we'll actually look at this piece later. Again, maybe in the next lecture, I don't know. Anyway, it's not in the 250, but we look at it. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by everything in here. But we can, like, who are the actual people in this room? Men. I guess I should say man. There's not a single woman. Not a single woman. And so a lot of the time, this piece is looked at, and I think very interestingly as like, kind of what am I trying to say? A way of like backing up this idea of like, well, yeah, this is all for the male gaze. And we've even talked about how like even the depictions of nude men are made for the male gaze, right? So like these wrestlers, this looks like a Discobolos figure, not the Discobolos, but it looks like he's got discuses in his hands, that they're also made for the male gaze, and that like nothing is considered for the female gaze. All right, now this painting is actually what Titian based his painting off of. And this guy, Giorgione, he did name this Sleeping Venus. So this one is supposed to be a Venus. All right. But then Titian's like, hey, yeah. And then we see, here's a very early photograph. We see this like continuation of the female nude, just like throughout time, and especially the reclining nude. Here's another birth of Venus, right? Reclining female nude. Woman with a parrot, Courbet, he's in the 250, not this piece, but a different piece. Modigliani. And then we even get to Olympia. Olympia is in the 250. Oops, my Apple Pencil is dying. I don't know when we get to her, but we get to her pretty soon. And this is a direct sort of response to Venus of Urbino. So that one's going to be fun. All right, mannerism. I think my Apple Pencil will survive mannerism. I'm only going to do one more piece today, and I think I'm going to have to stop. And I think I just took a break, so I'll be okay. But mannerism. So let's first look at some stuff about mannerism. I might not stay on this long enough for you to copy it, so you'll have to pause it. All right, but mannerism, compositional tension and instability rather than balance and clarity. That is in the earlier Renaissance stuff. Okay. So basically, we want like, it kind of wants, I think a good way to think about it is like, I just had the word, uncomfortable. Things just look weird. Okay. Compositional tension and instability. I mean, this dude even named this painting Madonna with the long neck. Look at her neck. She's a giraffe. She's not a giraffe, but she got a long. I mean, I don't know why he didn't call it like long ass languid baby Jesus, because that baby Jesus is long. I don't know why, but this baby Jesus always reminds me of this doll my sister had, and we called him Baby Tyler. I don't know why. It doesn't really look like him, but for some reason, my mom also disagrees. It doesn't look like Baby Tyler, but I don't know why, but this baby Jesus always makes me think of Baby Tyler. Anyway, but we can see like, oh God, I don't know how loud the gardeners are for you guys, but it's so loud right now. I shall talk louder. But anyway, like this is weird. Another thing that often happens with mannerism is like kind of a weird color palette, where the colors aren't always super like harmonious, or it's what my friends and I in high school, we were like, I don't know if we were trying to be funny or something, but like we would call colors like hesitation colors. We'd be like, that's almost blue. It's like a hesitation blue. And this is a pretty good example. Like the colors are all pretty washed out. There's not really anything that stands out. There's not a lot of good, like, you know, differentiation with lights and darks. Like it's kind of just a mess, color and lighting wise. Now, I will say that like any any art history teacher that you hear of, what am I saying? I don't know. Any art history teacher that I talk to who teaches this class, we're all like, how do we not have El Greco? Why do we have Pontormo instead of El Greco? El Greco is seen as like the mannerist artist. And so people who teach this class get very annoyed. Honestly, I don't know if I care enough. But here's a very famous one. And you can see like the figures are all very long, but also like the shape of them seems kind of off. And really what we're getting at here with mannerism, if you remember, with the Renaissance, the entire idea had been like, we're trying to go back to, the Greek ideal, and also like in two-dimensional form. We want to make things like as realistic as possible. We want it to look like real life. And they did that. They absolutely did that. And it's sort of like they hit that point of everything like being perfect and amazing and beautiful. And then they were like, well, now what? We did it. And we kind of like hit like if you think of a graph, and if the x-axis is time and the y-axis is like realism, like realisticness of painting, it's like going up, up, up in like a positive kind of, I don't want to say like it's not exponential, but it's just like steadily going up. And then you like hit this point of the Renaissance, and then it slowly starts going back down. Here, look, I'll draw you a graph. This is time. This is it real? And we're like, things are not very real. And then they get realer and realer and realer and realer and realer. And like, boing, here's the Renaissance. And then they're like, well, now what? And then things start like teetering back down. I don't know if it's that necessarily that bumpy, but people are like, let's just see what we can do. Let's see how weird we can be and still make money. I don't know if that's really what they're thinking, but that would be funny. And so that's what's going on. You even get things like this. I freaking love this. This is one of my favorites. I love this guy. I wish he were in the 250. Because like, what? I love it. Here's another one. Love this. You wouldn't think like this is coming right after the Renaissance, but it does. And it sounds like the gardeners are done. All right, perfect timing. Entombment of Christ. So we're in Florence. There's where Florence is. I always forget how far north Florence is. I always think I don't know. I guess I always think Rome is lower. Anyway, who cares? Here it is. Pontormo. I don't know. Pause to write that stuff down because I want to move on. So it's in a church. The church's name is here. Oops, not on the highlighter. So it's in this little church, and we can see there's like a little mini chapel here, and here's the painting. Right, so here we're looking at straight on, real nice, very cool. Okay, so it's in this church. What am I saying? I don't know. Let's start with the title, The Entombment of Christ. There has been some debate, and Entombment of Christ, I think we have given it that name later. I know we've given it that name later. We've given it that name later, but that is like its official name now. But many art historians debate over whether or not this is actually the entombment of Christ, or if it is the deposition of Christ. And basically, these are both scenes after the crucifixion, right? And we know some of those. We have seen the lamentation, right? The lamentation actually happens between the deposition and the entombment. The deposition, it's not like a legal deposition, okay? The deposition is when they take him down from the cross, right? They untie him, they take out the nails, they take him down from the cross, then Mary holds him, we get the lamentation, and then they carry him to the tomb, and that's the entombment. So people have said that they think this is the entombment and it got that name. But a lot of people are like, why? Why isn't this the deposition? Why isn't this them taking him down? And like part of the issue is you don't see the cross, but you also don't see the tomb. So it isn't clear what exactly is going on here. So that's just a fun little thing. But also that fun little thing of like, you don't see the cross and you don't see the tomb. Again, very mannerist, that like, we're not getting a lot here that is positioning us in, you know, a setting. And in fact, when you really start to think about it, we have some weird things going on that kind of ignore like the laws of physics and uh I guess perspective. I'm not saying that like Pontormo can't do perspective, but like where is this person standing? Where is this person? Where is she standing? Like we can see some ground down here. Okay, so I know where this person's standing. This person is oddly crouching. This person is standing. Where? How? What's is there? Are there stairs? But then you have this person and this. What is she flying? Is the Virgin Mary giving her a piggyback ride? I don't know. Right? This like tension, this like unnervingness of mannerism, like where are they? And then also, yes, the figures are a bit elongated. We'll see it, I feel like, especially in this figure, and this really awkward I hate this figure. It's so weird. Their faces also, we kind of lose that like luminousness that we had been seeing, excuse me, in the Renaissance. And their faces look kind of like hollow, kind of almost like dead a little bit. Like, yeah, there's a little bit of lighting on Mary's face, but like not like we've seen, right? They look very like drawn, very tired. Like they gotta go through hair and makeup. Then you have these figures carrying Christ. We figured out last year, this guy actually is wearing a shirt. It's just like this light pink, but it is so awkward on his body. It's very weird. Anyway, that feels like a way to really hurt your back, carrying someone like that. I don't know what he's doing. But anyway, this guy's torso seems very long, even Christ's torso, this guy. But this whole thing is just like so weird and uncomfortable and like off-putting. And that's and that's mannerism. Just kind of makes you not like what you're seeing. I don't know. I can't stand mannerism. Oh yeah, let's close up on the guy I can't stand. Also, like, who lost a? Maybe I guess maybe he lost a giant bit of fabric with his weird pink shirt. I can't stand it. Anyway, so I don't think I have anything else to say about this. It's weird. People are long. The colors here aren't so bad, but again, we don't get that brightness, that liveliness that we've seen in the past. Right? Remember? Oh yeah, look, remember Lamentation. Oh, and look at that, we're done. Wait, why didn't it switch on the screen? Done. Okay, so I'm going to spend part of today trying to figure out how to make a YouTube channel that is private, but that like I think I can with my LAUSD account. I think I can make, because I don't want it like if someone searches, I don't want them finding my videos, but I want them to be available to you on YouTube so that you don't have to keep downloading these giant files. So I'll send you guys a message when I have that figured out, or if I don't figure it out, I'll send you a message, but whatever. Okay. Have a good rest of your day. Have a good night. Have a good whatever. I don't know. I know I'm a little behind in the lectures, but we're actually still okay on time. So don't stress. I'm kind of getting these out at the speed I can. So yeah. Okay. Love you guys a lot. Just talk to you later. And remember, you can send me questions and stuff. Okay, bye.